you give me your baby, right? And you disappear off with my 100 grand, right? An hour later, you have not come back. A lot of the time, when I was talking to people who came from the drug dealing world, they would big themselves up. They would promise what, frankly, they couldn't deliver. In other words, they might occupy a fairly low position in a drug dealing network. They might serve up ounces, for example, of a class A, heroin or coke or this, that and the other. They might just be what we would call an ounce man.
Right.
So they serve ounces.
Are these the people at the bottom of kind of like the food chain?
Not the bottom, but they're lower down the pyramid.
Yeah.
If you think of it as a pyramid, they're lower down the rung. And of course, we're always striving to catch people towards the top end of it. Well, I got talking to one bloke, and I was introduced to this bloke who was promising multi-kilos of cocaine, right? He was a fairly young guy. He was a young guy. And he could talk the talk, but he could not walk the walk. And that became clear after many, many hours of negotiating with him. Because he kept insisting, I was gonna buy 100 grand's worth of coke. I think it was 4 kilos or something, right? 25 grand a kilo. Bit of discount because you're buying in bulk, obviously, back in the day, right? 100 grand, 4 kilos. Right?
And then he went to work the next day.
And he was promising, yeah. Well, I had a party at work.
I've got 2 porn stars coming.
Yeah. So this young man is desperate to do this trade, desperate to serve me up with these 4 kilos of coke. But because he's lower down the food chain, so to speak, lower down in the network, he cannot, the man holding the drugs will not release the 4 kilos to him because he thinks he might lose them or get robbed for them or this, that and the other. And likewise, I'm not going to release the cash. So there he is in the middle trying to put this deal together, but he can't. He is begging me, literally begging me to give him my 100 grand. And he says, I will be back within the hour, without fail, with your 4 kilos of cocaine. Yeah, righto. Does he think I just floated up the Thames on a water biscuit or something? You know what I mean, right? This is not happening, pal, right?
Yeah.
In his desperation, okay, he said, look, my girlfriend had a baby a month ago. I will leave the baby with you as collateral.
What?
You give me the 100 grand and he will give me the baby to hold maximum for an hour. Right?
How does that go through someone's brain?
Right? This is how desperate he was to do the deal.
Wow.
He was probably going to earn a very, very sizable drink out of that 100 grand.
Yeah.
And with a new family and all of that and an unwillingness to get a proper job,
Yeah.
that would have been very useful to him.
Wow.
So talk about me being nice and personable, right? I knew these negotiations were coming to an end, and please, no babies were harmed in the course of this undercover operation. I must make that clear. I'm the father of 3. My youngest 2, I was full-time house husband to while my wife went to work, right? I love a baby.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for a baby, right?
Yeah.
I love babies, but I was playing the role of a hard-nosed drug dealer.
Yeah.
So in the end, I've got the raging up with this bloke, and it's not going to happen. I said, okay. So picture the scene. I said, you give me your baby, right? And you disappear off with my 100 grand, right? An hour later, you have not come back. An hour and a half later, you have not come back. 2 hours later, you have not come back. Do you know what I'm going to do? I said, I'm going to get your baby and I'm going to wring its neck and I'm going to throw it in a skip. And I'll still be 100 grand out of pocket. I think these negotiations are over, aren't they? And he's looking at me, right? He's looking at this bloke that he thinks would be willing to wring his baby's neck and throw it in a skip. Yeah. He never bothered me again.
Oh, Jesus.
So what happened?
You didn't do the deal.
We didn't do the deal.
So he just got away with it, did he?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had no evidence. He'd never delivered
Oh,
any drugs
right.
to me or anything like that.
Because of course you can only arrest him.
You could have nicked him for conspiracy to supply drugs, but
Yeah.
it would be a hollow charge because there's no drugs. It would look like it was kind of like, ramped up, and it would end up being my word against him. And I wasn't willing to go and give evidence, against some poor deluded, recent new father who was trying to over promote himself in the world of drug dealing.
Yeah.
I really, really hope that after I'd threatened to kill his baby, he probably thought that drug dealers were not the sort of people he should be hanging around with, and it might have inspired him to go straight and get a proper job and provide for his family. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never saw him again.
Such a strange sentence.
Yeah. We could just clip that out and put that in the trailer so people click on it. After I threatened to kill his baby, that baby grew up to be Stevie White.
Oh.
How is your dad?
What I should say was that for added effect, just so that he got it, right, as he sat in front of me, when I said, I'll wring your baby's neck, it was like, and I'll wring your baby's neck and I'll throw it in a skip.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Oh, cool.
Anyway.
Gee, that's
and
scary.
I would never dream of doing that, okay? I would never wring a baby's neck and throw it in a skip. Honest. Mum, if you're watching.
I'd love to know what he said to his girlfriend. Just need to borrow the baby for an hour.
Yeah. Leave him with this random bloke. Jesus, 'cause I guess you can only really arrest somebody once the transaction's been made. Is that correct?
Yeah, you want them to deliver the parcel because therein lies the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to go to court with some hollow conspiracy where the parcel's not been delivered.
Yeah. When you go undercover, I can't remember if I asked you this in the first episode, so apologies if I did, but when you go undercover, are you given like a character profile of who you're going to be?
You create your own.
You do?
Yeah. And I always stuck very close to what I am because the easiest lie is the lie that is closest to the truth.
Okay.
That's the easiest lie to tell, to remember, to maintain. So, of course, my character was an oiky South London bloke.
Yeah.
That's all I was, but I'd made a few quid.
Yeah.
And I made a few quid through whatever means,
Yeah.
Whatever I dabbled in. And so I stuck to that. I couldn't suddenly have pretended to be a dealer in fine art, public school educated.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll buy your stolen Rembrandt for £4 million. Yeah.
I don't know. I think you pull it off quite well.
No. It fundamentally wouldn't last because I'd stub my toe and go, fuck it. And that whole demise would all come crumbling down.
Yeah, I quite believed it there.
But what I did do, I had a great mate of mine, wonderful undercover cop. And when we went out, he was my uncle, right? So I was his nephew, and we called him the Kashmir King, right?
Right. In the role play. That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah. in the role play,
Yeah.
yeah. He was married to a very successful businesswoman, so he could wear clothes that us lowly cops could only dream of wearing. Hence, he had the nickname the Kashmir King.
Right.
He literally wore cashmere and always looked $1 million, and so he could portray the role of somebody, that was well educated, had millions upon millions, and all that kind of stuff. But of course, when he was negotiating with the bad guys, he'd often say, I've got this nephew from South London, who's a proper lively lad. He's pretty handy with his fists, and he drives me because he's good to have on side. So I would drive for him. Right?
Oh, right, yeah.
So one day we're going off to do a job, and he's got a lovely car that I'm driving, a Jag or something, and we're going off to meet these crooks who are serving him up with a parcel of whatever it was, and I'm driving, and he said, "Shall I put some music on?" I said, "Yeah, go for it." Right, and we're driving into some less than salubrious kind of area in his Jag, so we're kind of going to stick out a little bit anyway. And he puts fucking opera on. Right? I've gone, what is that? Okay. And this is before the 1990 World Cup, when Luciano Pavarotti suddenly became known to oiks like me. He said, his name is Pavarotti. He's one of the world's finest tenors. I don't care how much he's worth.
I'll give you 20 to turn the fucker off.
Yeah.